Our guest today is an old friend of mine, Mr. Isam Masri. Mr. Masri was born in Lebanon in 1940. He has an MBA and is a chartered accountant. Mr. Masri has traveled and worked extensively in the Middle East, Africa, Europe, and North America. He's a historian and linguist, is fluent in several languages, and has translated and published over 300 titles, mainly children's and medical books. He teaches Arabic at his bookstore in Philadelphia, the Al-Warraq bookstore, and has also taught Arabic at the Community College of Philadelphia. He writes political articles for Arab American newspapers and lectures about Islam at universities and for non-secular groups. Mr. Masri has translated the Holy Qur'an into easy-to-read modern English, accompanied by a parallel clear transliteration of the Arabic text with the Arabic text itself on the facing page. The book was published in 2016. I invited Mr. Masri to speak to us today because I consider him to be both a leader and a scholar. So, dear Isam, I've previously defined leadership as see a need, meet a need. Please tell our viewers about the need that you saw and how you decided to meet that need.
Well, because I worked about 27 years as interpreter in courts, and when I was interpreting, I noticed some witnesses, whether they lied. And in one incident, I noticed that the lady, she was from North Africa. She spoke English, but she lied to her teeth. And I told the public defendant about it. And he said, what do you suggest? I said, can we postpone for 1 week? And he agreed. After 1 week, I went there and took a copy of the Holy Quran with me. And when they asked her to swear on the Bible, the Bible, the lawyer said, no, take this. And he gave her the Quran to swear on it. And immediately she looked at the judge and she said, Your Honor, I have a pain in my stomach. I cannot testify. And the defendant was released, though he spent 6 months in custody. And that's how I started. I wrote to the Supreme Justice of the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania. At the beginning, he refused. When I explained and sent him a copy of the Quran in Arabic and one in English Arabic, he sent me a letter confirming that it should be sent to all courts. I tried with politicians here in Philadelphia. It didn't work. I wrote to President Bush, the son, and he sent me a letter confirming that and asking the federal courts to order copies of the Quran. And they started doing that.
I see. So we're talking about what, 2003, 2002? Is that when you started? 2002.
Yes.
I see. Okay. This is very interesting.
Yeah, and then I started, we had an inventory of the copies of the Quran. I started sending from the store. And then when I ran out, I went and bought a large quantity from the Middle East and started sending to judges. Later on, one judge from California called me and cursed me. I said, why? He said, have you read the copy you sent to me? I said, no, because I read it in Arabic. He said, well, open the first page, Al-Fatiha, and look what they wrote. Not those who were condemned, in parentheses, the Jews, not of those who go astray, in parentheses, the Christians. So we stopped sending, and at that time we were working on the Divine Constitution, so we decided to work on the Holy Quran.
So this would have been about what, 2004, when you had this unfortunate realization?
Yes, 4 or 5.
Or 5.
Yeah.
And at the time you say you were working on the Divine Constitution. I know I've said I want to concentrate on your translation of the Quran, but just for a moment, tell us a little bit about the Divine Constitution. What is this book that
Well,
you're
the
talking about?
Divine Constitution, because of my work in courts in the tri-state, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware, many judges I became friendly with. And several of them said, you want Sharia. Every time we want to know what the Quran says, it means we have to read the whole book. This is ridiculous. Isn't there a way we can find what we need? And that's how the Divine Constitution was created. We classified the verses of the Quran per subject. So if somebody wants to know about marriage, all he has to open about social life in Islam and he find that page and all the verses in connection with that. And that book we sent before to judges in the area, and then I sent to every judge in the Supreme Courts in the USA, about 600 copies. And we sent to several politicians overseas, even the Pope.
And how was the Divine Constitution received by the people that you sent it to?
Many of them, because we, in Pennsylvania, a judge is not supposed to accept a gift. So I asked them to send $1. Some of them sent $1, some of them sent 50, one of them sent $30. And of course, some of them, they cursed us and they said they will dump the book if we don't send them a pre-addressed envelope with postage to send it back. And I have about a few hundred letters of this type.
Yes, well, I guess you can't always get what you want.
If
people will bear with me for a moment, actually, Mr. Masri has sent me a collection of documents, including some letters from judges. So I'd like to share with people the reactions from the people who were positive about it to somebody who was, shall we say, less than positive about it. Okay, let me see if I can find it here. Oh, I'm so bad with this. There we go. So let's start with this one, because this was one of the unsuccessful attempts. Okay. And I thought it would be pretty amusing from a judge on the Supreme Court of Florida in 2017, who stated that the book will be placed in our miscellaneous correspondence file and will be destroyed after 1 year. So that was kind of a negative attitude. But we also, in contrast, have one here from the state of New York's Court of Appeals, the chambers of Judge Eugene Fahey, received at about the same time, who says, enclosed, please find a $1 bill that I've signed for the copy of the Divine Constitution. Please be assured that this book will occupy a place of honor in my courtroom and office. So I guess you can't win them all, but I can tell that that didn't stop you. No. So let's get back then to the why you got into feeling that you needed to actually, instead of looking for a better translation of the Qur'an, you decided to take the bull by the horns and to actually do a translation yourself. My problem was the available translations. In '83, during the civil war in Lebanon, I sent my family to the States. And my wife sent the kids to school. One day, my daughter came back crying. She said, the teacher told us that Muslims worship another God called Allah. At that time, no comment about it. But when I started looking for copies to send to the courts, we have nearly every translation into English. Many of them, they don't use the word God in translation. All of them, they say, use Old English, or like you call it, Orientalists, and so on. All of them, they say prostration. And Isa al-Mu'id, one of the people who work with me, he said, no, we don't prostrate. Find the word to describe exactly. And we got Lee's dictionary, and we found out, no, we don't prostrate, we kowtow. Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah.
Although, to be fair, I'm not sure that that really clarifies matter, because there are a lot of people who don't know what a kowtow is either. Okay, that's really unfortunate, but that's how it is.
It's in
So,
the English dictionary. I'm sorry.
No. I'm sure that you are right about it. It's just that for the average person, kowtow is not a common word, and they would have to look it up. It may be absolutely accurate, but I don't think it's a common word.
I agree.
But anyway, I mean, I think that it's definitely necessary. I think it is necessary that the Quran be updated, the language used to translate it, not that the Quran is updated, but that the language that we use to translate it needs to be updated, because it's totally useless using a 150-year-old translation, because the English language itself moves on. So tell us then, in addition to the translation, what caused you to feel that your book also needed a transliteration?
You see, because many of the people who are not Arabs and they become Muslims, many of the mosques force them to learn Arabic, to learn how to read the Quran or how to recite the verses, which will take time. While the transliteration will make it easy. Immediately he says Ash-Shahada, he can go and read Quran in Arabic to pray and so on. It makes life much easier. And I'm seeing the results of that with the people who come to me for it.
Did it cause a little bit of challenges in terms of how you decided to lay the book out?
Yes. Well, it was very hard, because the other translations and transliteration we have from Pakistan and from Syria, they don't divide the verses. So it will make it very hard for somebody to go through and understand what this verse says and what this verse says. But when we put the verses opposite each other, exactly he knows what this verse says.
Well, for people who want a look at what this looks like, I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to start speaking of the Fatiha. Let me share my screen, and you'll see what we mean when we talk about the transliteration. So what you have here is on the left-hand page of each double page is divided in half with the English and then the transliteration in Latin letters right next to it. Everything lines up really well, okay? And no talk here about Jews and Christians being among the people that we are. And let's now take a look at the Arabic. I'm afraid I wasn't able to get Okay, so here's the, why did that happen? Okay. Here you have the Arabic, and you can see how it's laid out, okay, very clearly, okay. And the ayahs are numbered, and they line up very well with the English and the transliteration, which would be on the facing page. And this layout is what's maintained throughout the entire book.
One of the complaints we received, why in transliteration we didn't start the line with capital letter? And we try to explain, you're writing in Arabic, you're not writing English. You cannot put capital letters. You shouldn't.
So tell me, Isam, when we first discussed this issue of transliteration, you told me an interesting vignette about what happened with the first print run of the book, that you took it to the religious authorities in Lebanon, and what their reaction was.
The head office, the guy who's in charge of the Dar al-Fatwa under the Mufti, looked at it, he looked at the Arabic, he said, oh, that's good, that's from Saudi Arabia. And then his face became very red, And he said, no, we cannot certify this. I said, why? He said, because you said God, you didn't say Allah. I said, but Allah is God in English. He said, no, 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 that's a name. You cannot change it. I said, what do you translate? Jesus Christ, Isa ibn Maryam. He said, Jesus Christ, how can you translate that and not this? So I left the books there and walked out.
So I guess you did not get the blessing of that particular religious authority. Oh,
No,
well.
no. And I asked other authorities in other countries, they want $5,000 to give me the certification. And I said no.
A man of integrity, just as well. All right. So I see, Isam, that you had 2 collaborators on this transliteration project. Please tell us a little bit about them and also tell us how long it took to complete your work.
Okay. First of all, Stephen Jensen, he has his degree. He worked in Tunis for 4 years with the Peace Corps. And then he worked with the TV station here as editor. And he agreed to work with me. Isa al-Mu'aid was a soldier with the American Army in Willis Air Base in Libya. When he came back to the States, you know, at the time he came, he was faced with many difficulties. He forced himself to go to college and study to become a certified public accountant. And he met there in college with several people. They are Muslims. They wear bow tie and so on. And they invited him to be a member. And they said, okay, he started looking and he said, how can you wear a bow tie? The Prophet didn't wear one. Now, for 27 years, Isa al-Mu'aid has been coming to me every week, translating every word of the Holy Quran, writing the verses and the English and what page in what dictionary the word is. And now he's complaining the best dictionary I have ever seen is Hans Wehr. He has about 600 words which Hans Wehr didn't
get correctly.
Didn't get at all in his dictionary. And now he's still working on it. He's retired now. He used to be auditor with the city of Philadelphia.
Well, now that he's retired, he has more time to, be a picky kind of person. Yes. But you need somebody with that kind of eye for detail. If you're going to get something like this.
African American. That's yeah.
Okay.
And, he helped us a lot when translating the Quran. When Stephen tried to use a word which not understandable to everybody, Isa said, no, we should find
a better word. Well, in the book, where did you have it printed and why did you choose the particular printing house that you did?
First of all, Dar Sadr has been in business for over 150 years. They are the oldest in the Arab world, publishers and printers.
And they are located in?
In Lebanon. So I went to several. At first, I tried to print in the US, and it was very impossible. You know, they want something like 6 months or a year. I have to buy 5 tons of paper and so on. It's too complicated for my stupidity. So I started talking to printers in Lebanon. When I spoke with Sadr, they said, okay, we'll do it for you. But you tell us if we make mistakes.
Well, of course.
Yeah. So we started printing, and what I liked about them, they have quality control because I've been in publishing since 1966. Many times you receive books from publishers, even in the US, with blank pages or pages which are not correct. And you cannot do anything but throw the books away. So Sadr, he has employees checking every copy that is kosher.
Well,
and their
or halal,
and their prices are very, very good.
Yeah. And for your very first print run, how many did you have printed?
2,000.
2,000. Okay. And that was your first edition that was published in 2016, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. It must be very costly. Books are heavy. How do you get them moved from Lebanon to the United States?
By ship.
And that takes How long?
About 2 weeks to arrive from Lebanon to the States, and then 1 week to clear them out.
To get them out of
Yeah.
customs. So in general, just speaking about the printing and shipping process, how long, of course, have you had more than one print run made?
2.
You've had 2 made.
Yeah.
And was that also 2,000?
No, the second one was 500, and we brought it by air freight. Because I ran very short. Even now, I still have maybe about 60 copies only.
Is that all you have? Okay.
Yes.
And this is the hardback.
Yes.
I seem to remember at one point when we were discussing doing the interview, you said that you were interested in possibly doing a paperback.
Yes,
edition.
because the hardcover copy cannot go into prisons.
And so you have started sending, or you think part of your vision could be to send to prisons, and
Yes.
the feedback you've been getting is no hardbacks.
Well, we had requests from prison for the Quran, but because I've been in books so long, I know that in prison you cannot send hardcover because they might use the cover as a weapon.
I see.
So you have to send paperback.
I see.
And whoever send us a letter asking for a copy of the Quran, we say, we are sorry, we have other translation if you want, but our translation, you have to wait until we get it in paperback.
Until you get it in paperback. So just speaking hypothetically, if you were to do another print run, let's say some hardback and some softback, about how much would that cost you if you wanted to do another print run?
I think
to
about
supplement your stock?
$20,000 to $30,000 to start.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Okay.
our intention to send to every court in the U.S. There are nearly 43,000 courts apart from federal courts.
I see.
So when we start that campaign, when a court orders copies, we have to send it. We cannot tell them wait 2 months or 3 months.
That's right. So really, it sounds as if, as a practical matter, you are going to need to make another order fairly soon.
Yes.
So that you can start the next phase of your project.
Right.
That's right. Okay. So tell me a little bit then about the Philadelphia Arab American Businessmen's Association, which I have told you before is a very, very long name. And why
Yes.
did you create it, and what's the purpose of this PAABA?
In 1993, with the help of some people here, when I moved to the States, I helped organize the Philadelphia International Islamic and Arabic Book Fair. And at that time, we were the only group working. So we found this name. The fair went up to 1998, and I stopped because of political reasons. So, of course, everybody left. So I kept the name, and 2 years or 3 years ago, I registered officially as non-profit organization. Now I have called for people to restart the book fair, and I say, no, it's not the time yet.
I see. I see. Well, that's very interesting. Well, thank you for telling us a little bit about the origins, the genesis of your project, the origins of this translation and transliteration. And now, because you asked, I'm going to ask you to tell me the story about how you met Mary. I think it's a wonderful, lovely example of a successful marriage between two people from very different cultures and religions.
Well,
the floor is yours.
At that time, I was working in Ghana, also in books. And one of my job, because we weren't allowed to transfer money or exchange money, everybody in Ghana who has dollars used to come to me to change on a black market. And her brother was in Ghana, and he was one of my customers. She went to visit, and we met. And later in 1969, we agreed. I was in Ghana, she was here. I wrote her a letter, would you marry me? And she said yes. So I flew to the States. When I arrived to her family's home, I noticed that they are Jews. And I felt, well, I'm stuck, so do it. I got married, went back to Lebanon with her, and back to Africa. In Africa, I had to give a chief 2 cases of beer. The case there is 24 bottles as a price for my wife. When she went to Lebanon, she went to my father, who is a friend of ours, and she asked him She told him that she wants to become a Muslim. He told her, keep your hand and tongue away from people you're better than me. My father fought in First World War, and he was very conservative. In his 90s, he used to walk to the mosque for morning prayers. When I came back, he called me to the carpet, and he said, son, this woman left her country, her family, and followed you. With my blessing, either treat her well or let her go in peace. That's how it went. We've been married 51 years.
You know what? I think I want a word from Mary on this. Let's see if she remembers it the same way.
Mute. Pretty much that's what it was. His family was great for me. They were always there.
Well, you spent many years living in Lebanon. Isn't that where you learned your Arabic? Because you are qualified translator yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. When we first got married, of course, we spent 3 months in Ghana. Then I went back to Lebanon, and I told a friend of ours, I've got to learn Arabic. So she found someone to teach me Arabic. Every day I would go to this woman with a list of words. One day, all the foods I can think of. One day, all the furniture in a house. And when you have vocabulary, maybe my grammar was atrocious, but at least I could communicate. And from there, it just worked.
Who used to take you to school?
Your father.
MashaAllah.
He was so cute. To make sure that I knew the way, he would make me walk in front of him. You know, this kind of, he's an elderly man, I'm walking in front of him. Go, 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 you know.
Go, go, go.
To make sure that I was okay.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, the two of you, on 50 years of wedded bliss and arguments, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Knowing the two of you, there must have been some ding-dongs. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Haysam, for sharing with us both your vision of getting a Qur'an into every courtroom in the US, as well as your experience of producing a new transliteration of the Qur'an.
Well, I hope to be able to send the Quran to courts in Europe also, with the help of people, because I'm sure they will be delighted. It's about time we take the Muslims to the 12th century, where the Muslims were the best known in science, in everything.
So yours is a vision for the future of the Ummah then?
Well, just a little bit. I hope.
Just a little bit. Well, in that case, tell our listeners or our viewers later on when we put it on YouTube, tell them how they can help you to realize this project.
I will do that. I will do that.
I'm sharing here where they can reach you. And if you're too shy to say it, I will say it. To help Haysam to reach his goal, go to masri@concentric.net and buy a book or 2 or 3 from him and make a donation to the project of getting the Quran and the Divine Constitution into every courtroom in the United States. Think about it. You must know people who need a Quran that's a good translation in English, that has the transliteration and the Arabic in it. And as you've heard, Mr. Masri is planning a paperback run of books as well. So maybe you'd like to sponsor a book or 2 for an inmate. So there are many ways that we can all pull together to help Haysam to achieve his vision of a Quran in every courtroom and other places too, inshallah. And so in closing, I want to, oopsie, if I could only do it correctly. I want to make my usual quick plugs. In January, we will be moving the Lunch and Learn program back to the 4th Thursday of the month at noon. Our guest for January will be Dr. Zahra Rafi. Dr. Rafi is an associate professor of sociology at Northern Virginia Community College, NOVA. We will be discussing her vision of how Islamic education could be used to create empowered young people, both here in America and throughout the Ummah. And again, I sincerely hope that everyone who views this video will consider purchasing a copy of Mr. Masri's very fine transliteration of the Holy Qur'an. I know that for non-Arabic speakers, having a transliteration really adds to the immediacy of the experience of reciting the Qur'an out loud. You might consider purchasing more than one copy as a gift to a friend or family member, or you could give a copy to your local library, or you could get your mosque to purchase several copies for use by its members. And remember, with each book that you purchase, you're helping Mr. Masri to make his vision of a Qur'an in every courtroom a reality. And thank you all so very much for attending this interview today. Ma'as salam.